Okay, Kim.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Kim Lochbaum. I'm coming to you from Forsyth County, Georgia, just north of Atlanta. I work for the Forsyth County school system as an instructional technology specialist for K-5. I have posted a link to a Google Doc in the meeting notes in the chat. And this is what we're going to be working off today. It's nothing fancy, but it has a lot of different links that we're going to be looking at as we talk about some different things. So today's presentation is all about the Wixie PDF upload feature. And since we have so many Tech for Learning people here on the call, I do want to say I don't mind designing things in Wixie and I have nothing against it at all, but I've fallen in love with the PDF upload since it became a feature because there's so many free products out on the web that can save teachers time when they're designing things that they want to be locked to the screen, and they can just go into Wixie then and design those movable objects and text entry objects and things like that inside Wixie, but any locked objects can be designed in lots of different places. So I'm going to be working over here from the little sidebar where we've got the Google Doc open just to keep myself on pace, and then showing you some things in Wixie and in slides as well. So the first thing I wanted everyone to know is that Wixie is sized a particular size. So when you're talking about bringing things in, content from the web, from other platforms, it's good to know what that size is. So I just posted here at the top of the document that it is 800 by 600, or just flip that around, 600 by 800 if it is a portrait project. PowerPoint doesn't let you size in pixels, so I just put the actual size there. It's 8.33 by 6.25. So it's just good to know that going in. Your Wixie pages will look a lot better if you're able to go ahead and resize those. You'll notice a couple of times in the things I show today that I didn't resize. I wasn't really, when I started working in Wixie, paying a lot of attention to this, but as time went on, I realized, that we really needed to make those page sizes match. And this first one here is a great example of that. I'm going to show you the digital notebook. And these first couple of things that I'm going to share with you all come from Slides Mania, which just is an online repository of free slides templates. And users can download them in Google Slides or in PowerPoint format. So just depending on, whatever it is that your school district uses. My district uses both, but I generally tend to go with the Google Slides. So I've got the originals linked on the document, just so you'll have that. But I'm just going to show you here and pull this over my edited version of this digital notebook. So each of these hopefully is set up for anyone who wants to make a copy. You can just go ahead and select use template, and then you'll have your own copy of the actual slides. So what Google Slides and PowerPoint as well will do is let you download uh, as a PDF. And I know that we can also bring in a PNG or image file into Wixie as a background. I tend to go with the PDF simply because you can do multiple pages at once, and that's just a huge time saver. So this was just, a basic template for creating your own Google Slides on the theme of that old marble notebook that we've all used before. And so in this particular case, I did not resize. Resizing was a little bit problematic on this one, so I just left it the way it was. But once we get into any Google Slides, I'll show this once and then we'll refer to it as we move along. We're just gonna go to download, and then we're gonna download that as a PDF. And so just choose a location to save. I actually already have that one saved, so I won't save it. And then when we're over here in Wixie, we're just gonna go to the upload feature, find our PDF, and upload that. And there it is. And now once that this is in Wixie, the teacher or the student could come in and add the title, could add the text boxes and things that are needed, duplicate the pages as many times as are needed as well. So the reason I like this is because it's so easy for students to lose their real notebooks. And this is just an easy way to, give them something that they absolutely cannot lose. The next one over here is Math on the Farm. Again, I have the original link. I have the edited slides version, and then I have the Wixie template as well. So I'm just going to pull up the Wixie template and show you how I did that. Most everything was done in slides, but then I came into Wixie and I added my cloning objects. So students are just making a number sentence based on the animals that they see in the picture, and they're just dragging those down here below the fence. So I went ahead and these are all locked. I didn't have to sit in Wixie and click on every item and lock it so students wouldn't move it around. I was just able to, to have it on the slide, and so it's automatically locked as part of the background. But then I came in here and made my cloning objects. And incidentally, we can copy those cloning objects. That's another little Wixie trick, is just to be able to select all, Control C copy, and then just move on to the next page, Control V paste. And 9 times out of 10, your cloning objects will remain. I have encountered a few times when maybe the one didn't clone anymore and I had to fix that. But for the most part, everything is going to carry over in that copy and paste. So the link here in the notes should be a link if anyone wants a copy of this Wixie template. That is, and when do whatever you want to with it at that point. But if you wanted to change the actual slides, you're going to have to get this copy of the edited version of the slides. This next one also comes from Slide Mania. It is just a weather report template. It's a really robust Google Slides template. I actually deleted most of the slides. I tend to think, even though I work with K-5, I was a primary grades teacher, so I tend to make things for primary teachers a lot because they're sometimes more difficult to convince to use technology, but Wixie is a great product for primary grades. So what I have here is just an example of what the students will be doing, and this came straight from the Google Slides. It was already this way. And then I just edited the template. I just made a duplicate, edited that template, and students are going to do the weather forecast here for their own city. So, even though I shared the Wixie template with you, if you don't live in Cumming, Georgia, this one's probably not going to work. So you'll just grab a copy of that edited Google Slides and make your own changes to it. And I just also shared an example here, and then they're going to grab some of these items that I made here in Wixie, these labels, and just go ahead and type up a weather report for the cities of their choice. One thing I like to do to help students out a little bit, I know we now have a feature in Wixie where you can restrict students to specific folders. But even before that, I would often make a page of resources for students. And I feel like every student should be taught Control C, Control V. So they can just come to the resource page, Control C it, and then come back over here, and should be able to Control V. Whoops, it's not doing what I want it to. They should be able to copy and paste. Make sure. There we go. So that's just a little bit of a workaround for keeping kids on task a little bit better and not spending so much time searching. You're just like, I just want you to use these images on this page. The next one down here is a skills practice. And I've included the original once again, the slides already resized for Wixie as they were, and then I edited them. This group of slides really has a lot of different information on it. And I just call it skills practice because it has cause and effect, it has retelling a story, it has the Freyer model, and all types of templates over here on this side if my previews will ever pop up. And so what I've done is I've just taken one of the slides within here, the actual cause and effect slide, and I just duplicated it over and over again and made this brand new presentation. So I just copied the pages, called it cause and effect. My internet's dragging a little bit. And so what you end up doing in Google Slides is just removing the text boxes because you're going to need to make those in Wixie. So there were text boxes here for students to type in Google Slides. So I've just removed those, um, and I've added an image to each one of these pages. So this was just one page in the original presentation that I've just duplicated over and over again and just changed the image. And then when I download that and bring it into Wixie, I want to go ahead and add back all of those text boxes. So here it is. So you can see here, I just went ahead and added a text box and then copied and pasted that text box all throughout. And then obviously teachers could make their own. I went ahead and included a blank one at the end that could be duplicated, and then the pictures could be added in Wixie. Whereas, these were added in Google Slides, so they're stuck to the page. So just a little extra there if you wanted to go ahead and extend that using the Wixie template. I included some links to some other things that I think are really interesting in Slides Mania. I haven't personally done anything with them yet, but I just wanted everyone who is watching today to have access to this. I'm especially interested and hope to do something really soon with this fast food menu. It just has a lot of different, it's just menus. It would be a great math Wixie for kids to be able to, build a plate and add up the cost of their plate and that type of thing. So Slides Mania terms are listed here, and they are pretty open to you using their material in any way that you would like. You just can't redistribute it and sell it, which, it makes sense, but people do that. So they have a lot of scary sounding terms on their website. I've actually talked to the owner of Slides Mania, and she says people sell stuff on Teachers Pay Teachers that she's put up for free all the time. So that's why her terms sound so scary, but she's perfectly fine with teachers using and redistributing to students and to colleagues. So I just wanted to make sure I included the terms there. Slides Carnival is very similar to Slides Mania, and I have some examples here as well. They are a little bit freer in their terms. It's a Creative Commons license. You can use these pretty much however you want, including commercial purposes, but you still can't call them your own and sell them as your own, but you could, use some of their products to build your own products that you were selling. Um, so I have this daily math challenge, and I've got the slide here, but I'm actually going to show you this in Wixie. Um, what I'm using this as, or sharing it with teachers, actually, I'm not using it with kids myself, but it's just a way to put a bunch of students in the same project, in a team project, without them getting all over the top of each other's pages. So that tends to happen with our younger students when they're in a team project. And this is just a way for you to lock their name to the page, and they just go to the page with their name on it. The teacher might actually come in here and put a math problem. Really what I'm showing you how to do here is that you can use Wixie as an online whiteboard template. There's a lot of online whiteboard templates available, but since, if your district already subscribes to Wixie, you can utilize Wixie as a whiteboard. Just come in here and duplicate your math problem over and over again. Just copy and paste it until you've got one for every student. But then when they come into the project and they see that, there's a whole bunch of people in there, they know to go to the page with their name on it. And because we locked it to the background by putting their name on the Google slide, then they're not able, to move that around and change anything about it. So looking at the slides, the way I added this to the slide was with word art. So I'll open that up now and show you what I mean by that. And so obviously you don't want my Wixie template with a bunch of random student names on it. So by opening up the actual slides and making a copy of your own. With the word art, you simply just double click, change the name, hit enter, and then you've got your student name on there. And then you would export it, download it as a PDF and bring it in to Wixie. The next template is a memory book. I like to share with this with teachers at the end of the year, and in fact, have already done that with our elementary teachers in our district. I've included a couple of different versions. I've got this memory book. It's kind of like a yearbook, designed to edit in slides, and then I changed it a little bit to be able to edit it in Wixie. So when we pull up the slides version of the Wixie template, all of the text boxes are gone. So there's no place to type the title. We're going to do that when we get into Wixie. And then likewise here, there's no lower, it was the lorem ipsum text, the placeholder text was here to show students where to type. Well, I don't want that on the background because it'll lock it to the background. So I removed all that. But I wanted to share this one because you may want to come in and add your own touches to this before you download it as a PDF and bring it into Wixie. But I also included the Wixie template here in the list. And then I included a blank one. So this is the blank version of the book, which doesn't have the memory book type or yearbook type pages on it. It just has a blank book. And so it's just wide open to whatever you would want to design it for. Okay, moving right along. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Canva, just one of my very favorite design tools. I use it for a variety of purposes. But before I do that, I do want to say that the licensing for Canva is a little bit stricter than the first two we talked about. There are some things you cannot use and redistribute digitally. And you need to get an educator account. So just a regular Canva account doesn't give you as many free things as the educator account will, and the account for you is free. It gives you access to more of their content when they know that you're an educator. So I'm logged in. It's canva.com, not to be confused with Canvas, which is the learning management system. Um, and you can build so many things here. You've got a create a design button. So if I want to design a worksheet, I just start typing in the word worksheet. I tend to prefer landscape things, so I can even choose a landscape worksheet. And then ideas, this is my blank page here, but ideas are going to start popping up over here on the left. But the first thing I want to do is I want to, again, resize this canvas. And so instead of inches, I'm going to go to pixels and just change this to 800 by 600. And then I don't have to worry about it anymore. And we just hit resize. And then you can see it just changed it very slightly. So Canva is actually pretty close to the size we needed in Wixie. So anything that I see over here that I like, I can just start popping in to my project over here. Like there's a certificate, all kinds of, interesting things, flow chart. You just have to be careful about the actual license that you're only using free items. So sometimes it'll have a little icon down here, and sometimes you have to click on the three dots, and sometimes you still can't tell. So if I can't tell, I just don't use it. But most of them are going to be marked. So I started one earlier just to save a little bit of time. I found this Caption It, which I thought was really cute. It would be a great way for students to practice dialogue. What goes in the speech bubble is what gets the quotation marks around it. So I've used my own items and I've used items out of Canvas for this. So I just changed the pictures because one of the other requirements for digital redistribution in Canva is that you have to modify it. You have to put your own spin on it. So you have to use the free content and then you have to personalize it in some way. You can't just use it as is. See, I've changed all the pictures, added my Bitmoji down here. Excuse me. I did that using the Bitmoji Chrome extension. I just copied paste. And then I added a text element out of Canva. And so I can just keep building this as many pages as I want. There's actually a duplicate page option. So I just duplicated that last page. They're identical now. But then I can look for additional images. So I see that one's free. So I just drag and drop, and there it is. Just drag and drop into place. So it really couldn't be easier than just that drag and drop. There's another free one that's really interesting looking. And so you can just keep doing that. And then your download option is over here on the right where it says share. So you're going to download and it's going to default you to a PNG. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with bringing a PNG file into Wixie. It'll make a background, but I'll have to do these one at a time. And I want them all to be on the same project. So I'm going to do PDF. And you've got two versions of PDF here. And I always do the high quality download. So once that's selected, we hit download. And there we go. And save. And so then once we are back in Wixie, same thing we did before, we will just go ahead and bring that in using the file upload. There we go. Very, very beautiful, but I'm still going to have to come in and add those text boxes or let my students add the text boxes. It just kind of depends on the teacher and the student. So I put a couple of examples here that I've used in Canva before. These are the Wixie templates that I've already made. So that's just a link to those Wixie templates. So Canva is just something that you could explore and explore and explore. There's just tons of resources there. Um, the next item is Pixabay. One of my most favorite websites. Pixabay is just a free image site. And I get images here for just about everything I do. You can sign up for a free account and the images can be downloaded in a higher resolution. So here in our district, we have these huge, 65, 75-inch panels that we use in our classrooms. And with a free sign-in account with Pixabay, you can download images that make great backgrounds for surfaces that large. But even without an account, you can download lower resolution images. So it's just up to you, but it's not going to cost you anything for the account. The only thing you have to be careful about in Pixabay is that the top row of images are always advertisements. You can see that it says sponsored iStock images. So those are not going to be free. But everything else on the page is. So if we open up one of these, you can see that the Pixabay license is free for commercial use. No attribution required. Teachers always like that. You don't have to cite this anywhere. And if it's free for commercial use, it's free for educator use. And so what the pictures in Wixie do a great job of is making your backgrounds for Wixie projects. And so I've included the link here to a ton of them straight to Wixie that I think are just great backgrounds. But then I also included the link to the Wixie where I already have all these. So if you just wanted a copy of the Wixie project itself, you can click there and get that. And so what I'll do is just import a page. This is just like my baseline, my repository, of background images. And if I need to start a new project and I want one of these backgrounds, I'll just open a blank project and say import a page from here. And then I've got it. So I'm just going to kind of show you a few of these. There's a ton of them. So we've got farm backgrounds. So all I did was copy paste out of Pixabay, just Control C, Control V, and then just resize to fit the page. And kids can come in here and add stickers. They can add text boxes and type. And I think this one is really neat because you could do like, well, what's out there, and then the kids design their picture and write about whatever they think is out there. There are a lot of these that look very fairy tale like, so they make great backgrounds for that. I like to think of this one as what if I was trapped in a box. Here we've got one, your own stage, and here also, I call this one be the teacher. So here you are, you've got your board, you're standing in front of the classroom, what are you teaching? Um, got some spooky ones. And then there's tons of just, actual images in Pixabay that are free to use. So for, you're studying history, geography, fourth grade, Oregon Trail in Georgia, that's one of the standards. So there's lots of things like that that you can bring in. Um, what if I'm standing on the moon, looking at all the planets? Just tons of those. So it's just useful in so many ways for making lots of different kinds of projects. The Pixabay terms, like I already said, everything's free um, except for that first row of images. But I do want to point out that Pixabay content is not suitable for student browsing. So in our district, it's turned off for students, but if students can get to it, they can get to some inappropriate things. So it really just needs to be a teacher use tool. So the next thing I want to point out is this graphic organizer maker that's actually linked on the Wixie website. It's just a great place to make a quick graphic organizer that can then be downloaded as a PDF. And obviously, then it can be brought into Wixie. Not that Wixie doesn't have a ton of graphic organizer templates available already, because they're there. They're definitely there. But if you needed to personalize something, if you needed to put your own text on it, you could use one of these and then download that and bring it back into Wixie. I also have an example here of something I like to do with the Wixie rubrics. So we're still using slides here. So I'm going to open up this slide. And what I did was I went into Wixie and I copied my rubric and I pasted it into my Google slide. So I've got the Google version there if you want to see that. It's linked in the docs. Interestingly enough, if you highlight, Control C, copy a Wixie rubric, it won't paste into a Wixie page, but it will paste into a slide. And so I've pasted that here straight out of the print dialog from Wixie. And then I came here after I brought the entire thing into Wixie and I made this check mark a clone. So what allows us to do is have the student evaluate themselves. So not only can the teacher let the student see the rubric like we normally would do for a project and then evaluate the student on the rubric, but you can also look at how the student used the rubric to evaluate themselves by just bringing this in here. So how I did that, like I said, was I just went to my rubric and I said I was going to print it. And I just highlighted the whole thing and tapped Control C. And so, like I said, this will paste. It doesn't look like it's going to, but it will paste perfectly into Google Slides when you do that. So, like I said, the Google version is here. The other thing that I have for you available in Wixie today is this cloning shortcuts Wixie template. I wanted to recommend that everybody build their own one of these, but if you wanted to grab mine and start with it, you certainly can. Mine just doesn't have a ton of things on it yet. But sometimes you can spend a lot of time making clones, alphabet, numbers, those types of things. that can take a little while. So if you make them one time and store them in just a Wixie project, mine is just called cloning shortcuts, you can then use them elsewhere. So you can see each one of these is a clone. So if I want to use this elsewhere, I just drag a box around the whole thing, Control C, let's add a page, Control V, there they are, and let's see if they still clone. And they do. So that's just a huge time saver, not to have to redesign that over and over again. So when you find yourself building these types of things, just save them somewhere so that you know you've got them and you can always just come and reuse them as needed. So the last thing on my list today is PowerPoint. I know we may have PowerPoint users versus Google Slide users, and PowerPoint's actually, in my mind, a little bit magical in that will allow you to design some things very, very quickly. And they can all be exported as PDFs, and therefore they can be turned into Wixie projects. So my internet's struggling a little bit again. So I'm just going to start with blank because I'm going to be using PowerPoint Designer, and you don't even need to choose a PowerPoint theme to use Designer because it's going to do a lot of the work for you. So I'm going to choose Design, hopefully. And one of the things I can do here on the design tab, if it pulls up, is change the slide size. And that's why I included at the top today. Remember I said PowerPoint doesn't use pixels, so you'll use 8.33. So we're going to do custom size, and we'll just change this to 8.33 and 6.25 and say OK. And notice that kind of messed up our text a little bit, but that's okay because we know it's going to look better if we use the correct size. So let's say my students are getting ready to do animal reports. You might come in here and type in a title, and then you can do whatever you want. Since the font got a little messed up, you will have to come in and re-edit that now that we're in the resize slides. Notice over here on the right-hand side of my screen of the PowerPoint, it's trying to make some suggestions for me, and that is super helpful. All right, this is just being really slow. All right, I'm going to pretend that looks great so we can move on. So I just go ahead and change then. I just go ahead and select one of the suggestions over here that PowerPoint has made for me. And now I've got the title page, and obviously I could add, their class group or whatever. And then I want to insert a new slide. And I'm just going to do the title and content. So a table of contents page, basically. That's not what that's supposed to look like. Let's try that again. Well, here, we'll resize it. So we'll just call this content. Usually it's not quite this crazy when you resize. And I'll just start adding the animals that my students have picked to report on. So they're reporting on lions, tigers, bears, penguins. And then notice it pops up and asks me if I want to add the next 4 slides automatically. So I'll say, sure, that sounds like a great idea. and it goes ahead and creates a page for each one of those. And then I click on each page, and I'm going to get my design ideas. So without me really doing much work at all, I could select, and then when I get this into Wixie, when things are all said and done, I'm just going to build a text box, maybe a nice little shape right here as a background, and then a text box on top of that for students to do their typing. But it just becomes beautiful really, really quickly without me having to do a ton of work. And the export option in PowerPoint is under your Save As. You just say download it as a PDF. So I think that's all I have for you guys today. Like I said, all the links are over here on the document, and that was included in the chat for today. Does anybody have any questions about anything?
Kim, before everybody tells you how absolutely amazing you were, amazing information, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. And that way we have kind of a clean recording of this, and we'll
Okay.
still stay on. Hold on. Here we go.